What if the biggest danger during a heat wave isn't the temperature outside, but the mistake you don't even realize you're making? Every year, thousands of people collapse, suffer permanent organ damage, or lose their lives, not because the sun is too powerful, but because they believe they're doing the right thing. Heat doesn't always arrive with dramatic warning signs. Sometimes it whispers. It slowly steals your body's water, strains your heart, confuses your brain, and pushes your organs toward failure before you feel truly sick. Today, we're going to uncover 5 silent mistakes that can turn a hot day into a life-threatening emergency, and more importantly, how understanding your own body can help protect the people you love. Most people believe that thirst is the body's first signal that it needs water. It feels logical because a dry mouth or the desire to drink seems like an obvious warning. But the human body is much wiser and much more complicated than that. By the time you actually feel thirsty, your body has often been working for quite some time to protect itself from a shortage of water. Thirst is not the beginning of dehydration. It is one of the later alarms. During a heat wave, this delay can become dangerous because the body may already be under significant stress before the mind recognizes what is happening. Think of your body as a carefully balanced system where every cell depends on water to perform its job. Water carries oxygen and nutrients through the blood, removes waste products, regulates body temperature, cushions joints, and allows countless chemical reactions to happen every second. Even a small reduction in body water can begin to affect these essential functions. The body immediately tries to compensate by conserving water, increasing certain hormones, and reducing fluid loss wherever possible. These adjustments help for a while, but they cannot continue forever. As the temperature around you rises, your body begins producing sweat. Sweat is one of the greatest survival tools humans possess. As sweat evaporates from the skin, it carries heat away from the body, helping to keep the internal temperature within a safe range. This cooling system works remarkably well, but it comes with a cost. Every drop of sweat contains water that leaves the body. During extreme heat, this loss can become surprisingly large, especially if you are walking outside, working in the sun, gardening, or exercising. Sometimes people lose more water than they realize because sweat can evaporate so quickly that clothing never becomes soaking wet. You may not even notice how much fluid has disappeared. The body tries to protect itself by reducing urine production and directing blood toward the skin to release heat. These are intelligent survival responses, but they also increase the workload on the heart. The heart must pump harder to circulate blood while also supporting the cooling process. If there is not enough water in the bloodstream, blood volume begins to decrease. Thicker blood is more difficult to move through blood vessels, forcing the heart to work even harder. For someone with heart disease or high blood pressure, this additional strain can become a serious problem. The brain is also extremely sensitive to dehydration. It depends on a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients delivered through healthy blood flow. When dehydration begins, people may notice difficulty concentrating, slower thinking, irritability, or unusual tiredness. These changes often seem harmless. Someone may simply believe they did not sleep well or that the heat is making them feel lazy. In reality, the brain is already signaling that it is struggling to maintain normal function. As dehydration becomes more severe, dizziness, confusion, poor judgment, and even fainting can occur. Ironically, the very organ responsible for making good decisions becomes less able to recognize the danger. The kidneys quietly carry another enormous responsibility. Every day they filter the blood, remove waste products, and carefully regulate the body's water and mineral balance. During dehydration, the kidneys receive less blood flow. They try to conserve as much water as possible by producing smaller amounts of darker urine. This is an important survival mechanism, but if dehydration continues, the kidneys themselves begin to suffer. Prolonged lack of water can increase the risk of kidney injury and make it harder for the body to remove harmful waste products efficiently. Older adults face a unique challenge because the natural sensation of thirst becomes weaker with age. Scientists believe several changes in the brain and body contribute to this reduced thirst response. An older person may lose a significant amount of water before feeling any desire to drink. This means relying on thirst alone becomes increasingly unreliable as people grow older. Many seniors also take medications that influence fluid balance, such as diuretics used for blood pressure or heart conditions. These medicines can increase water loss, making regular hydration even more important during periods of extreme heat. Another factor is that muscle tissue naturally contains a large amount of water. As people age, muscle mass often decreases, reducing the body's total water reserve. This means dehydration can develop more quickly than it would in a younger adult. Even small illnesses, reduced appetite, or forgetting to drink throughout the day can push the body closer to dangerous dehydration without obvious warning. Many people believe they can make up for hours without water simply by drinking a large amount all at once. While drinking water is always beneficial, the body absorbs and uses fluids more effectively when they are consumed steadily throughout the day. Small, regular drinks help maintain blood volume, support healthy circulation, and keep the cooling system working efficiently. Waiting until intense thirst appears often means the body is already trying to recover from an avoidable shortage. It is also important to understand that hydration is not only about replacing water. When we sweat, we lose minerals such as sodium and potassium that help nerves, muscles, and the heart function properly. During normal daily activities, a balanced diet is often enough to replace these losses. However, prolonged exposure to extreme heat or heavy sweating may require additional attention to maintaining both fluids and electrolyte balance. The goal is not simply to drink more but to keep the body's internal environment stable so every organ can continue working together. Simple daily habits can make a remarkable difference. Keeping a bottle of water nearby creates a visual reminder to drink regularly. Having a glass of water with every meal and between meals helps establish a routine that does not depend on thirst alone. Choosing water-rich foods such as cucumbers, watermelon, oranges, tomatoes, and other fresh fruits and vegetables can also contribute to overall hydration. Paying attention to urine color can provide another useful clue, as pale yellow urine generally suggests better hydration than urine that is consistently dark. During a heat wave, these small habits become quiet acts of protection, supporting the body's extraordinary ability to defend itself against temperatures that challenge every heartbeat, every breath, and every cell. Many people assume that if they feel strong, healthy, or physically active, they can handle the hottest part of the day without much concern. They believe that determination is enough to overcome the heat. But the human body does not negotiate with the laws of nature. It responds to temperature according to biology, not confidence. During a heat wave, there is a period of the day when the environment becomes so hot that the body must work much harder simply to keep its internal temperature within a safe range. This is why staying outside during the hottest hours can quietly become one of the most dangerous mistakes a person can make. The human body is designed to maintain a stable internal temperature of around 37 degrees Celsius, regardless of whether it is cold or warm outside. Countless biological processes depend on this stability. Enzymes that control chemical reactions, the beating of the heart, the functioning of the brain, and the activity of muscles all work best within a narrow temperature range. Even a small rise in body temperature forces the body to activate emergency cooling systems. During mild weather, these systems perform remarkably well. During extreme heat, however, they can become overwhelmed. When the sun rises, the ground, buildings, roads, and surrounding surfaces begin absorbing heat. By late morning and early afternoon, these surfaces release that stored heat back into the air. This is why the hottest part of the day is often not exactly at noon but a little later, when both direct sunlight and accumulated heat combine to create dangerous conditions. Standing on concrete, asphalt, or other hard surfaces can expose the body to heat coming from above, below, and all around. The air itself becomes warmer, making it much harder for the body to cool down. Normally, the body removes excess heat by increasing blood flow to the skin and producing sweat. As sweat evaporates, it carries heat away from the skin's surface, but this system depends on the surrounding environment. If the air is extremely hot, or if the humidity is high, sweat cannot evaporate efficiently. Instead of cooling the body, it simply remains on the skin or drips away. The cooling system continues working harder while becoming less effective. The body keeps losing water without receiving the full benefit of that water loss. As blood is redirected toward the skin to release heat, less blood may be available for other organs. The heart compensates by beating faster and pumping harder. This increased workload may not be noticeable at first. A person may simply feel slightly tired or out of breath. However, Every minute spent in extreme heat places additional stress on the cardiovascular system. For people living with heart disease, diabetes, lung conditions, or high blood pressure, this extra demand can become especially dangerous. One of the most deceptive aspects of heat illness is how gradually it develops. It rarely begins with dramatic symptoms. Instead, it often starts with heavy sweating, unusual fatigue, weakness, muscle cramps, headache, or mild dizziness. Many people dismiss these signs. They assume they simply need to finish one more task, complete one more walk, or spend just a few more minutes outside. Unfortunately, these early symptoms are the body's polite request for help. Ignoring them allows the internal temperature to continue rising. As the body struggles to release more heat than it can remove, heat exhaustion begins to develop. Blood pressure may fall because of fluid loss and changes in circulation. The brain receives less oxygen-rich blood, leading to lightheadedness, difficulty concentrating, and poor judgment. Ironically, people experiencing heat exhaustion may not recognize how serious their condition has become. Their ability to think clearly is already being affected by the rising body temperature. Muscles also begin to suffer. They rely on a steady supply of oxygen, nutrients, and balanced minerals to function properly. During prolonged heat exposure, heavy sweating removes not only water but also important electrolytes. This imbalance can contribute to painful muscle cramps, weakness, and reduced coordination. A person climbing stairs, carrying groceries, working in a garden, or exercising outdoors may suddenly discover that movements feel much harder than usual. These are not simply signs of fatigue. They are warning signals that the body's internal balance is beginning to fail. If exposure continues without cooling or hydration, heat exhaustion can progress into heat stroke, which is one of the most serious medical emergencies caused by extreme heat. At this stage, the body's cooling system starts breaking down. Internal temperature rises rapidly, sometimes reaching levels capable of damaging proteins, cells, and vital organs. The brain becomes especially vulnerable. Confusion, unusual behavior, slurred speech, loss of coordination, seizures, or unconsciousness may occur. The skin may become hot to the touch, although it can be either dry or still moist depending on the circumstances. Without immediate medical treatment, heat stroke can permanently damage the brain, heart, kidneys, and other organs, and it can become fatal within a short time. Many people underestimate the influence of direct sunlight. Sunlight not only warms the surrounding air but also heats the skin directly. Dark clothing absorbs more solar energy, increasing heat gain. Wearing heavy or non-breathable clothing traps heat close to the body, making cooling even more difficult. A wide-brimmed hat, loose-fitting lightweight clothing, and seeking shade whenever possible can significantly reduce the amount of heat the body must handle. Physical activity multiplies the problem because muscles naturally produce heat whenever they work. Walking quickly, lifting heavy objects, running, cycling, or performing outdoor labor generates additional internal heat at the very moment the environment is already making cooling difficult. The body is then fighting two sources of heat at once, one from inside and one from outside. Even young, healthy individuals can become overwhelmed under these conditions if they continue pushing themselves without adequate rest. Planning daily activities around the weather is one of the simplest yet most effective ways to reduce risk. Outdoor chores can often be completed during the early morning or later in the evening when temperatures are lower. Frequent breaks in shaded or air-conditioned areas allow the body's temperature to return closer to normal before dangerous heat accumulates. Carrying water, wearing light-colored breathable clothing, using an umbrella for shade when appropriate, and avoiding unnecessary exertion during peak afternoon heat all work together to reduce stress on the body's cooling systems. It is equally important to pay attention to the people around us. Older adults, young children, outdoor workers, and individuals with chronic illnesses may not always recognize when they are becoming overheated. A simple conversation, a reminder to rest, or offering a cool place to recover may prevent a medical emergency before it begins. During a heat wave, protecting health is not only about enduring high temperatures but about respecting the remarkable limits of the human body. Understanding that even the strongest person depends on biological systems that function best when given the chance to cool, recover, and maintain the delicate balance that keeps every organ working safely. When people think about staying hydrated during a heat wave, most assume that any drink will protect them from dehydration. If a beverage is cold, refreshing, and tastes good, it feels like the right choice. But the human body does not judge a drink by how satisfying it feels in the moment. It responds to what that drink actually does inside the body. During extreme heat, choosing the wrong beverage can quietly work against your body's natural cooling system, increasing the risk of dehydration even while you believe you are replacing lost fluids. Every cell in the body depends on a careful balance of water and minerals to function properly. The heart relies on this balance to pump blood efficiently. The brain depends on it to send clear signals throughout the nervous system. Muscles require it to contract and relax smoothly. The kidneys constantly adjust water and mineral levels to keep the body's internal environment stable. During a heat wave, these systems are already working harder than usual. They need the right kind of support, not additional challenges. Water is the foundation of life because it participates in almost every biological process. It carries oxygen and nutrients through the bloodstream, removes waste products, lubricates joints, supports digestion, and helps regulate body temperature. As temperatures rise, the body produces sweat to cool itself. This cooling system is incredibly effective, but it comes at a cost. Every drop of sweat carries water out of the body. Along with that water, important minerals such as sodium and potassium are also lost. These minerals, often called electrolytes, are essential for healthy nerve function, muscle movement, and maintaining the balance of fluids inside and outside the body's cells. Many people reach for sugary soft drinks during hot weather because they are cold and provide a quick burst of energy. At first, these drinks may seem refreshing. However, beverages that contain large amounts of sugar are not always the best choice during extreme heat. High concentrations of sugar can slow the emptying of the stomach, delaying how quickly water reaches the bloodstream. Some people may also experience increased thirst after consuming very sweet drinks, leading them to drink even more without effectively correcting dehydration. The brief feeling of satisfaction may hide the fact that the body is still struggling to restore its fluid balance. Alcohol presents an even greater challenge during hot weather. Many people enjoy a cold alcoholic drink while relaxing outdoors, believing it helps them cool down. The cooling sensation is largely an illusion created by the evaporation of liquid and changes in blood flow near the skin. Inside the body, alcohol interferes with normal fluid regulation. It reduces the action of hormones that help the kidneys conserve water, causing the body to produce more urine. As more water leaves through urination, dehydration becomes worse. At the same time, alcohol can impair judgment, making it more difficult to recognize the early warning signs of heat illness. A person may underestimate how hot they are, ignore dizziness or weakness, or continue spending time in dangerous temperatures without realizing the risk. Caffeinated beverages are another source of confusion. Coffee and tea are enjoyed by millions of people every day, and moderate amounts are generally well tolerated by healthy adults. However, consuming large amounts of caffeine during a heat wave may not be ideal, particularly if it replaces water. Caffeine can temporarily increase alertness and reduce feelings of tiredness, but this effect may encourage people to remain active longer than their bodies can safely tolerate. Some highly caffeinated energy drinks also contain large amounts of sugar, creating an additional burden during extreme heat. While moderate caffeine intake is not automatically dangerous, it should never become the primary source of hydration when the body is losing significant amounts of fluid through sweating. Energy drinks deserve special attention because they often combine high levels of caffeine with sugar and other stimulants. During hot weather, the heart is already working harder to circulate blood and support the body's cooling system. Adding excessive stimulants may increase heart rate even further, placing additional stress on the cardiovascular system. For people with underlying heart conditions or high blood pressure, this combination may become particularly concerning. What appears to be a quick source of energy can actually increase the body's workload during a time when it is already under considerable strain. Understanding electrolytes helps explain why hydration is about more than simply drinking water. Sodium, potassium, magnesium, and other minerals carry tiny electrical charges that allow nerves to communicate and muscles to contract properly. Every heartbeat depends on these electrical signals. When we sweat, we lose both water and electrolytes. During ordinary daily activities, eating balanced meals usually replaces these minerals without difficulty. However, during prolonged exposure to extreme heat, especially when sweating heavily for several hours, the body may require additional attention to restoring both fluids and electrolytes. This does not mean everyone needs specialized sports drinks throughout the day. For most people, regular water combined with nutritious meals containing fruits, vegetables, dairy products, whole grains, and moderate amounts of salt provides excellent support for maintaining healthy fluid balance. Foods such as bananas, oranges, tomatoes, cucumbers, yogurt, and leafy vegetables naturally contain many of the minerals the body needs. Water-rich fruits like watermelon can also contribute to hydration while providing vitamins and minerals at the same time. One common mistake is waiting until intense thirst develops before drinking a large amount all at once. The body absorbs fluids more effectively when they are consumed gradually throughout the day. Taking small drinks regularly helps maintain blood volume, supports healthy circulation, and allows the cooling system to continue functioning efficiently. Carrying a reusable water bottle serves as a simple reminder to drink before thirst becomes noticeable. The temperature of a drink also influences comfort. Cool water often feels more refreshing than very hot beverages during extreme weather, encouraging people to drink enough to stay hydrated. However, the exact temperature matters far less than drinking consistently. The body benefits most from receiving an adequate supply of fluids over time rather than relying on occasional large amounts. It is also important to recognize that some medical conditions require individualized advice about fluid intake. People with certain heart or kidney diseases may have restrictions on how much fluid they should consume each day. Following the guidance of a healthcare professional remains essential in these situations because hydration needs vary depending on overall health. Hydration is not simply about satisfying thirst. It is about giving every organ the resources it needs to perform its remarkable work. The brain depends on steady blood flow to think clearly. The heart depends on adequate fluid to pump efficiently. The kidneys depend on water to remove waste. Muscles depend on balanced electrolytes to move with strength and precision. During a heat wave, every sip of the right beverage becomes an investment in the body's ability to protect itself. Choosing water as the primary drink, limiting alcohol, avoiding excessive sugary beverages and highly caffeinated energy drinks, eating foods rich in natural fluids and minerals, and drinking steadily throughout the day allow the body's cooling systems to function as they were designed, quietly supporting the extraordinary balance that keeps us healthy even when the world around us feels unbearably hot. One of the greatest dangers during a heat wave is that the body rarely moves from health to crisis without giving warnings. Long before a medical emergency develops, the body begins sending small signals that something is wrong. These signals are not random. They are carefully designed messages from the brain, the heart, the muscles, and the nervous system, asking for help before serious damage occurs. The tragedy is that many people ignore these early symptoms because they seem too minor to be dangerous. A slight headache is blamed on stress. Dizziness is dismissed as standing up too quickly. Fatigue is explained away as a poor night's sleep. Muscle cramps are thought to be nothing more than overwork. Yet during extreme heat, these ordinary symptoms can be the first signs that the body's cooling system is beginning to fail. The human body constantly works to keep its internal temperature within a safe range. Even when the outside world becomes dangerously hot, the body tries to protect vital organs by increasing blood flow to the skin and producing sweat. These responses are incredibly effective under normal conditions, but they also require a large amount of water, energy, and healthy circulation. As dehydration develops and body temperature begins to rise, every organ must work harder to maintain balance. The earliest symptoms appear because the body is struggling to keep up with these growing demands. A headache is often one of the first warning signs. Many people never connect it with heat exposure because headaches can have many different causes. During dehydration, however, the amount of fluid circulating through the bloodstream begins to decrease. Blood vessels may respond by changing their diameter, and the brain receives slightly less oxygen-rich blood than it normally does. At the same time, the brain itself is extremely sensitive to changes in fluid balance. These small disruptions can trigger pain, creating a headache that should never be ignored during a heat wave. Taking a painkiller without addressing dehydration may reduce discomfort for a short time, but it does not solve the underlying problem. Fatigue is another symptom that is often misunderstood. Feeling unusually tired during hot weather is not always a sign of laziness or aging. In many cases, it reflects the enormous amount of work the body is performing behind the scenes. The heart is beating faster to circulate blood toward the skin. Sweat glands are producing fluid to remove excess heat. Muscles require more energy because the cardiovascular system is under greater strain. The body is spending valuable resources simply trying to keep itself cool. When people continue pushing themselves despite overwhelming fatigue, they force already stressed organs to work even harder. Dizziness is another warning that deserves immediate attention. Standing in extreme heat causes blood vessels near the skin to widen so that heat can escape more easily. At the same time, dehydration reduces the amount of blood circulating through the body. Together, these changes may temporarily lower blood pressure, especially when standing up or walking after sitting for a while. Less blood reaches the brain for a brief moment, creating lightheadedness or a feeling that the room is spinning. Some people ignore this symptom and continue working. Others mistakenly believe they simply need to rest for a few minutes before returning to activity. In reality, dizziness during a heat wave often means the body's circulation is already under significant stress. Muscle cramps are another early sign that should never be dismissed. Every movement we make depends on electrical signals traveling from nerves to muscles. These signals rely on a careful balance of electrolytes such as sodium and potassium. Heavy sweating removes both water and these important minerals. As electrolyte levels become unbalanced, muscles may begin contracting painfully without warning. Heat cramps often affect the legs, arms, or abdomen and may appear during or after physical activity. Although cramps themselves are not usually life-threatening, they indicate that the body's fluid and mineral balance is being disturbed. Continuing strenuous activity without replacing fluids and resting increases the risk that more serious heat illness will follow. The brain is one of the organs most vulnerable to rising body temperature. Even small increases can begin affecting thinking, memory, and judgment. A person may become unusually irritable, have difficulty concentrating, forget simple tasks, or make poor decisions without realizing anything is wrong. This creates a dangerous situation because the person experiencing heat illness may no longer recognize the need to seek help. Friends, family members, or coworkers often notice these changes before the individual does. Confusion should never be treated as simple tiredness during extreme heat. It may represent the beginning of a medical emergency requiring immediate action. Nausea and loss of appetite are also common warning signs. During extreme heat, the body redirects blood toward the skin to release heat, which means less blood may be available for the digestive system. Digestion naturally slows, and many people lose interest in eating. Some may even feel sick to their stomach or vomit. This creates another problem because eating less reduces the intake of fluids and electrolytes that help maintain healthy body function. A cycle begins in which dehydration worsens, appetite decreases further, and the body's ability to recover becomes more difficult. As heat illness progresses, symptoms become increasingly serious. Heavy sweating may continue, or in some cases sweating may decrease as the body's cooling mechanisms begin to fail. Skin may feel unusually hot. Breathing becomes faster. The heartbeat becomes rapid as the heart struggles to deliver oxygen throughout the body. Weakness becomes more pronounced, making simple tasks feel exhausting. Walking may become unsteady. Speech may become slower or less clear. These are signs that the body's protective systems are reaching their limits. If the internal body temperature continues rising, heat stroke can develop. This is a true medical emergency because the brain, heart, kidneys, and other organs begin suffering direct damage from excessive heat. A person may become confused, behave strangely, lose coordination, experience seizures, or lose consciousness completely. Every minute matters because prolonged exposure to dangerously high body temperatures increases the risk of permanent injury and death. The most important response to early symptoms is immediate action rather than waiting to see if they disappear on their own. Moving into a cool or shaded environment reduces further heat exposure. Drinking cool water if the person is awake and able to swallow helps begin replacing lost fluids. Loosening or removing unnecessary clothing allows heat to escape more easily. Applying cool, wet cloths to the neck, underarms, and groin, or using fans to increase evaporation, helps lower body temperature more quickly. Rest is equally important because physical activity continues generating internal heat even after leaving the sun. Family members, neighbors, and coworkers play an essential role in recognizing early warning signs. Children may not understand what they are feeling. Older adults may not notice subtle confusion or may underestimate the seriousness of their symptoms. Someone working outdoors may refuse to stop because they want to finish a task. A simple conversation, offering water, encouraging rest, or helping someone move into a cooler place may prevent a life-threatening emergency before it develops. If symptoms become severe, especially confusion, loss of consciousness, seizures, difficulty speaking, or signs of heat stroke, emergency medical services should be contacted immediately. While waiting for professional help, cooling the person as quickly as possible can make a critical difference. The body gives countless opportunities to recognize danger before reaching this stage. Learning to respect headaches, dizziness, fatigue, muscle cramps, nausea, confusion, and unusual weakness as meaningful biological messages rather than minor inconveniences allows us to respond while the body's remarkable ability to recover is still working in our favor. One of the most dangerous beliefs during a heat wave is the idea that serious heat illness only happens to people who are already sick, elderly, or physically weak. Many healthy adults assume they are protected simply because they exercise regularly, have no major medical conditions, or have handled hot weather in the past. This confidence can become a hidden risk because the human body follows the same biological rules regardless of age, strength, or fitness. Heat does not choose its victims based on appearance. It affects anyone whose body can no longer release heat as quickly as it is being produced or absorbed. Understanding this truth is one of the most important steps toward staying safe during extreme temperatures. The human body is remarkably adaptable. It can survive freezing winters, scorching summers, and dramatic changes in weather. Yet this adaptability has limits. Every second, the body produces heat as a natural result of metabolism. Even while sitting quietly, your organs, muscles, and brain generate warmth simply by staying alive. During physical activity, this internal heat production increases significantly. Walking, running, lifting heavy objects, gardening, cycling, or working outdoors all cause muscles to produce additional heat. Normally, the body removes this extra heat through sweating and increased blood flow to the skin. During a heat wave, however, the surrounding air is already extremely hot, making this cooling process much less effective. Even professional athletes sometimes suffer from heat illness despite excellent physical fitness. Their strong muscles actually produce more heat during intense activity, and if environmental conditions prevent effective cooling, their internal temperature can rise rapidly. Fitness improves many aspects of health, but it does not make a person immune to the laws of human physiology. A healthy heart, strong lungs, and powerful muscles are valuable, but they cannot fully protect the body when heat gain exceeds heat loss for an extended period. Young adults often underestimate the danger because they recover quickly from many everyday challenges. They may believe that drinking enough water after finishing work or exercise will solve the problem. Unfortunately, heat illness often develops while the activity is still taking place. Once the body's cooling system begins falling behind, internal temperature may continue rising even if the person feels determined to keep going. Confidence can sometimes become more dangerous than weakness because it encourages people to ignore the body's early warning signs. Certain medical conditions increase vulnerability to extreme heat, but they do not create the risk by themselves. Heart disease is one example. During hot weather, the heart works harder to circulate blood toward the skin for cooling. People with heart conditions may have less reserve capacity, making it more difficult to meet these increased demands. Diabetes presents another challenge because it can affect circulation, kidney function, and the body's ability to regulate temperature. Some people with diabetes may also experience changes in nerve function that reduce awareness of dehydration or overheating. Obesity can also make heat regulation more difficult. Body fat acts as insulation, slowing the release of internal heat to the surrounding environment. Moving a larger body requires more energy, which naturally generates more heat during physical activity. This does not mean that every person with obesity will develop heat illness, but it does explain why extra caution becomes important during periods of extreme temperature. Age also influences the body's response to heat. Older adults often produce less sweat, experience a weaker sense of thirst, and may have slower circulation compared with younger individuals. These natural changes reduce the efficiency of the body's cooling system. At the same time, many older adults live with chronic health conditions or take medications that influence fluid balance and blood pressure. Together, these factors increase the likelihood that dehydration and overheating may develop more quickly than expected. Young children face different challenges. Their bodies are smaller, and they warm up faster than adults. They also depend on caregivers to provide fluids, appropriate clothing, and safe environments. Children often become so focused on playing that they ignore thirst and continue running even as their body temperature rises. They may not recognize the early symptoms of heat illness or know how to explain what they are feeling. Careful supervision becomes essential because children rely on adults to notice changes before they become dangerous. Medications represent another often overlooked risk factor. Some medicines increase fluid loss by causing more frequent urination. Others influence blood pressure, reduce sweating, or affect how the body responds to heat. Certain medications used to treat allergies, depression, mental health conditions, or heart disease may also interfere with normal temperature regulation. This does not mean people should stop taking prescribed medicine during a heat wave. Instead, it highlights the importance of discussing concerns with a healthcare professional and paying closer attention to hydration and heat exposure. Outdoor workers deserve special attention because their jobs often require prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Construction workers, farmers, delivery personnel, road crews, gardeners, and many others cannot always avoid working during the hottest part of the day. Repeated exposure may help the body adapt gradually to heat, but adaptation does not eliminate danger. Even experienced workers can become dehydrated or develop heat exhaustion if temperatures become extreme. Work intensity increases, or hydration is neglected. Regular breaks, shaded rest areas, and access to drinking water are not signs of weakness. They are practical tools that support human biology. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of heat waves is that many deaths occur quietly inside homes rather than outdoors. Older adults living alone may not have air conditioning or may avoid using it because they worry about electricity costs. Some people hesitate to ask for help because they do not want to inconvenience family members or neighbors. Others may simply underestimate the seriousness of rising indoor temperatures. A short phone call, a quick visit, or offering transportation to a cooler location can make an extraordinary difference. Human connection becomes one of the most powerful forms of protection during extreme weather. Checking on neighbors is especially important during prolonged heat waves. Someone who appears healthy one day may become dehydrated the next without realizing it. A simple question such as asking whether they have enough water, whether their fan or air conditioner is working, or whether they are feeling well may identify problems before they become emergencies. Communities become stronger when people recognize that protecting health is a shared responsibility rather than an individual challenge. Pets also depend entirely on human care during hot weather. They cannot remove heavy clothing, refill their water bowls, or choose cooler environments for themselves. Providing shade, fresh water, and avoiding walks on extremely hot pavement helps protect animals whose bodies are often even more vulnerable to overheating than our own. Perhaps the greatest lesson a heat wave teaches is one of humility. The human body is an extraordinary creation, capable of incredible endurance and resilience. Yet it is not invincible. Every heartbeat, every breath, every drop of sweat reflects a delicate balance that must be respected. True strength is not pretending that heat cannot affect you. True strength is understanding your body's limits, listening to its early warnings, making wise decisions before danger appears, caring for those who are more vulnerable, and recognizing that surviving extreme heat is not a matter of courage alone but of knowledge, preparation, compassion, and respect for the remarkable biology that allows every one of us to live, move, and thrive. This content is created for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you or someone around you develops symptoms such as confusion, loss of consciousness, severe weakness, or signs of heat stroke, seek emergency medical care immediately. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional regarding your individual health needs.